And you know one thing, the radiation intensity is function of angle theta comma pi. But whereas for isotropic radiator, it is independent of angle because it radiates uniformly in all direction. Or what is another definition of radiation intensity? Radiation intensity means power radiated per unit solid angle. We know the solid angle in isotropic case is simply 4 pi. So power radiated divided by 4 pi. But for practical antenna, we do not know what is solid angle. Okay, it can be anything because say if the practical antenna radiates in this direction, then again here I have drawn it in 2D, but please imagine in 3D, then you'll get some solid angle. Okay, you'll get some solid angle, say in one plane, say in a theta plane, because there are two planes. Okay, in two planes you are having radiation pattern. In another plane, like a vertical plane and horizontal plane, if it is a horizontal plane and again vertical plane also will be there, there also you have to calculate the beam width. Okay, so you'll get two types of angle. You'll get two types of angle. So one is calculated at theta and another one is calculated at pi. Then simply, very simply, again, once if we combine these two, that is in a 3D case. So in 3D case, we are calling it as a solid angle, but we do not know what is that solid angle. But one thing is very clear, the power radiated is same. Okay, see, in the case of practical as well as in the case of isotropic, power radiated is same. So power radiated divided by solid angle, power radiated divided by 4 pi, then PR cancel. So finally you are getting 4 pi divided by solid angle. Okay, the solid angle notation we are writing like this. Okay, in antenna, this is the solid angle notation, 4 pi divided by something like ohm and A. Okay, ohm A. So this is the solid angle, 3D solid angle. Okay, this is the 3D solid angle, and this 4 pi is the 3D solid angle of the sphere isotropic radiator, because for a sphere it is completely 4 pi, but for other shape we do not know what is solid angle. Okay, that can be found out, okay, with help of 2D angle. Okay, this is calculated in 2D plane, because you will have either horizontal, you are having horizontal plane as well as the vertical plane. Then in the horizontal plane you calculate the half power beam width. Okay, in the horizontal plane. Similarly, in the vertical plane you calculate the half power beam width. You know what is half power beam width? Okay, the beam width over which the power is always more than half of the power. So once if you go beyond the beam, then beam width, then you'll get less than the half of the power. That's the idea. So 4 pi divided by half power beam width in the theta plane, theta half power beam width, product with the pi half power beam width, because you are having two planes. So in each plane you measure the half power beam width. Okay, this is the another way to calculate the directivity of the antenna. Simply 4 pi divided by half power beam width in both the plane. Just you make a product. Just to make a product. Then there is another way also you can write, because here this formula is in radian mode, because you know once this is in radian mode, numerator is 4 pi, and very clearly once the numerator is radian, then denominator also you have to put it in radian. Please be sure that whenever you are writing like this, half power beam width and half power, one is pi and another one is theta half power beam width, then whether they mention or not, this has to be in radian, because numerator is radian divided by radian, then there is no unit, because directivity will not have any unit. But sometimes they may give you in degree also. So then simply you convert this 4 pi from radian to degree. Okay, you know how to convert radian to degree, then you may get approximately like this. Okay, then 41253 and theta. Again, now here the numerator is in degree, then denominator also you have to put it in degree, theta degree and pi degree. Okay, pi degree. Okay, so how to remember this formula? Please remember this formula, then you can modify to this formula. Okay, this is one way to calculate the directivity of the antenna, directivity of the antenna. Okay, so next one is parabolic reflector. Next one is parabolic. Intuitively, this is okay, because you know your isotropic radiator radiates uniformly in all directions, say like a sphere, because this is isotropic radiator. Then your practical radiator is going to radiate only in a particular direction. Say for example, 3D direction I'm telling, this is simply radiating in this direction, but not with another direction. Now antenna is here. Okay, so it is simply radiating in only one direction. Then definitely if you measure the solid angle of this practical antenna, that will be less than the isotropic antenna. So then you will get the directivity. So lesser the solid angle, more the directivity. So again, if I reduce the solid angle, then I'll get the more directivity like this. Okay, so intuitively this is okay. So solid angle of isotropic radiator divided by solid angle of the practical radiator. Okay, simply you can remember like that. Directivity is equal to, you can remember like that. Okay, solid angle of ISO, solid angle of ISO, solid angle of practical antenna. Okay, solid angle of practical antenna. Okay, next parabolic reflector. Okay, next parabolic reflector. Okay, you know that parabolic reflector we are using in DTH receiver. Okay, where parabolic reflector is used in DTH home, direct to home receiver, DTH receiver. Okay, we are using parabolic reflector. Then what should be the gain of the director? Okay, what should be the gain, and what should be the other parameters? Okay, so again, say this is the parabolic radiator. Okay, it is having some shape here like this, and again you might have seen there will be one feed like structure here. Okay, one feed will be here. What is the job of that feed? Again, you might have seen that feed will be connected to some wire, again that will be taken to your set-top box receiver. Okay, see, set-top box receiver, set-top box receiver. Okay, so what is happening? Directly signal is not going to the feed, but actually signal is falling like this. Okay, signal will be coming like this, will come like this, like this. But the shape is in such a way the reflected signal will go here. Any reflected signal will go to this feed. So that is the idea of the parabolic reflector. Instead of simply receiving the direct signal, once if you receive like that, you will get receive very less signal. That signal strength is not enough because signal is coming from the satellite very long distance. So to increase the signal strength, to increase the signal power, we are using the feed. So we are using the reflector, parabolic reflector. So whatever the signal that that is touching on, that is incidenting on this parabolic reflector, is reflected back in such a way that they are all focused on this point. They are all focused on this point. Again, you know mathematics. So once if you have kept your feed exactly at the focal point of the parabola, then all the light, all the waves that is falling on the parabolic reflector will be definitely collected by this feed. Okay, once if you are not keeping your position properly, then you will not receive proper signal. Okay, so then with the cable, then you can take that signal to the set-top box receiver. Then later you can see the TV program. So now what is this? What is the directivity of this parabolic reflector? That is very, very important. What is the directivity? What will happen if the directivity is missing? Okay, so the directivity of the parabolic reflector is very, very, very high, very, very narrow, because if you have seen what is the directivity like this, see, it's like around 1 degree, the directivity of the satellite and all radiating the energy in 1 degree angle, because even if it radiates at 1 degree angle, solid angle, that can cover almost 1/3 of the Earth's surface, because it is at much larger distance. That's why the directivity is very, very high. Even if you tilt your antenna by a 1 centimeter above or below or in the side, definitely you will not get signal, because there has to be a line of sight between the satellite and the parabolic reflector. Okay, so once if you are not maintaining the line of sight, that means what? You are not maintaining the directivity. Okay, the beam is very, very, very narrow. The beam is very, very narrow. So the directivity of the parabolic reflector is very, very high, because it is long distance communication. So whenever you have long distance communication, the directivity is very, very high. That's why even if you tilt your antenna by small amount, you will not get signal. But the same problem you will not experience in the mobile phone, because even if you tilt your mobile phone, you are getting the signal. Their directivity is different. Their directivity of your mobile tower and your mobile antenna is different. Here the directivity is completely different. Okay, so because whenever you are doing long distance communication, directivity is very, very high. Please note down that point. So long distance long distance communication. So whenever you have long distance communication, directivity is very, very high. Directivity is very high. You know, once if directivity is very high, definitely beam width is low. Definitely beam width is low. Beam width is low. A very narrow beam width. So this radiation pattern and all will be having the very narrow beam width. So then what is the directivity of the parabolic reflector? So before that, you should know the diameter of the dish. Okay, diameter of the dish, that I call it as D. Okay, diameter. Don't get confused with the diameter and directivity. For both, we'll use same notation. Diameter of dish. Okay, in meter. Okay, in meter. Then once if you know the operating frequency. Once if you know the operating frequency, then you can calculate the wavelength. Once if you know these two, then you can directly calculate the directivity. So directivity is equal to 10 other, please mute the mic, 10 d by lambda whole square, very important. So the directivity of the parabolic reflector is 10 d by lambda whole square. This d denotes the directivity. This d denotes the directivity. Directivity is means it is just a number, no unit. See, d square divided by lambda square. Unit of d is meter. Unit of wavelength is also what? Meter. Both will cancel. Finally, you will get no unit. Okay, so 10 d by lambda whole square. Simple formula. Okay, simple formula. This d indicates the diameter. Okay, this d is diameter. This d is directivity. Okay, so now you I will give you some example. You know what is the frequency of operation for DTH? Okay, then what is the frequency of operation for other satellite communication? Okay, other satellite communication frequency of DTH. Anybody? What is the frequency of DTH?
4 to 6 gigahertz, sir.
அப்படியே மார்க் சொல்றீங்க. 12 to 14 gigahertz. Okay, the directivity of the frequency of DTH is 12 to 14 gigahertz. Okay, for other satellite communication we are using 4 to 6 gigahertz. Okay, you take some middle frequency, some frequency. Once if you take some frequency, you'll get some wavelength. Okay, then you know the approximate diameter of the dish. It is roughly around, I think, 1 meter or 120 centimeter, like that. Okay, DTH. And you know what is the for other satellite communication, the diameter could be around 5 meters, something like that. Okay, so then you know the values. You just substitute here in this formula. Then what is the directivity that you are getting? What is your directivity? Okay, கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியுமா? Yes, diameter கொடுத்துட்டான் approximate. Frequency also, you know, you take any one of the frequency, you calculate lambda, then finally you will get directivity in terms of number. For that you can take dB also. Okay, once if you have number, okay, then for that you can take dB also. Okay, so once if you take dB directivity, if you want to represent in dB, 20 lakh use pannuma, 10 lakh use pannuma, sir? Anybody? I know this value. 10 lakh. What about others? See, somehow I have calculated all this value. I know D. From this D, how can I represent in dB? Directivity in dB. 10 lakh, 20 lakh. Anybody? Directivity means 10, it is giving you the power gain or voltage gain. 10 lakh. Yeah, 10 lakh. So 10 lakh D, simply D. This D means this D, directivity. Okay, not to make confusion, I'll make the colors like this. Okay, this D means this D. Yeah, somehow I have calculated D. Once if I know the D, because D I have calculated in the power domain. Okay, gain means power gain. Okay, power gain. So 10 lakh D. Okay, now just you calculate the directivity in terms of number as well as in terms of log. That's okay. Then you also calculate the directivity for other antenna if possible. Now I will give you the directivity of lambda by 2 dipole and monopole antenna and other antenna. Then you compare the directivity of this antenna with the dish antenna. Okay, how the directivity differs. Okay, so now next one is, you know, directivity. Then what is the gain of the parabolic dish? Okay, gain of the parabolic dish. So very simply, gain of the parabolic dish is equal to, instead of 10, you put 6 here, 6d by lambda whole square, 6d by lambda whole square. That means what? Gain is equal to efficiency into directivity. Here in case of parabolic reflector, the efficiency is 0.6 or 60%. That means what? Out of all area, around 60% of the area is effectively collecting the power. Remaining area is not collecting the power. Okay, see what is the meaning of this one? Only 60% of the area, 60% of physical area is effectively collecting the power. So without worrying about anything, simply you remember the formula. Okay, directivity means 10d by lambda whole square. Okay, then gain means 6. Okay, that's a way. Next, what is the beam width? Somehow I told you, once if you have a dish like this, okay, if this is my dish, okay, then how will be the directivity? Okay, definitely, suppose if it is a transmitting antenna, it can be a transmitting antenna, receiving antenna, no problem. Okay, so the dish may act as either transmitting or receiving, that's okay. So again, see, the directivity will be something like this, because the power is flowing only in this direction, the satellite is upwards. Okay, so now what happens? The directivity is going in this way. So once if you tilt somewhere, the satellite position will be here. Here, suppose if satellite is there, okay, now the directivity is like this. Okay, this beam is of very, very narrow. So once if you tilt by even by 1 centimeter upward or downward, you will go somewhere else. Your beam goes somewhere else. Okay, this is true for both the transmitting as well as for the receiving antenna. Whenever you are receiving, your beam will be coming like this. Then if your position is like this, then only you can receive the signal. Okay, if you tilt your antenna by some other means, in some other way, then you will not receive the signal. So the beam width is very, very narrow. Okay, because of long distance communication. Now, what is this beam width? Okay, what is this beam width? Okay, beam width. What is the beam width? Okay, the beam width formula directly I'm writing. So beam width. Okay, it's very important. In the question adigadi exam la vandirukku. Beam width is equal to 140 degree divided by d by lambda. Please always remember in some format. ஒவ்வொரு புக்ல ஒரு ஃபார்மேட்ல கொடுத்திருப்பாங்க. Always remember in some format. Beam width is equal to 140 degree divided by d by lambda. So இதுக்கு பின்னாடில some derivation is there. Okay, don't worry about the derivation. Simply remember the formulas. Exam point of view. 140 degree divided by d by lambda. Where what is d? D na directivity or diameter, sir? Anybody? Beam with 140 degree divided by d by lambda தராங்க. இங்க இருக்கிற d வந்து directivity. Yeah, diameter, because as per the unit concept, length by length has to cancel. Beam width is in terms of degree. Yeah, or some book they used to give like this, 140 degree lambda they'll take up, they'll also give like this. Okay, no problem, everything is okay. Now, and again, one more ratio is there, f by d ratio, focal length to diameter ratio, or simply they'll call it as f by d ratio. Very rarely they used to ask this question, what is f by d ratio? Okay, f by d ratio. F by d means what? Where is your focal point? Okay, sorry, where is your focal point? Okay, where is your focal point? Then what is the diameter of the disk? What is the diameter of this disk? What is that ratio? That ratio is given by f by d. F by d ratio, f by d is equal to, simply remember, 0.25 cot theta. So in the question they will give you only theta, sir. They will give you only theta. They will ask you f by d. So you have to remember this formula, 0.25 cot theta. Okay, f by d ratio. Then in parabolic reflector, generally there are 3 types of feeds. Okay, 3 types of feeds, and each feed is having its own advantage and disadvantage. The first one is front feed. Okay, front feed. Feed means what? Where you are placing this signal collector. This is called as feed. Even for signal collection or for transmission, whenever you are transmitting, this will give the radiation to the disk. Okay, that will again reflect to the space. That's idea. That's the idea. Okay, for transmission or reception, both are okay, same. Okay, so what is the feed here? Okay, front feed. So what is the problem when you have front feed? Okay, I will draw it in 2D. Suppose my disk is like this. Okay, now I am in a transmitting mode. Say, for example, I want to transmit the signal. My dish has to act as a transmitter. Then what I will do, my feed is here. Okay, I am connecting my transmitter to this feed. Then this will give the electromagnetic waves. Okay, this will give the electromagnetic waves. This goes like this, like this, like this, like this. Then what is happening? It is going like this. Then later it will go in this manner. Okay, in this manner. Okay, so in this process, what is happening? Some signal is here. Here is the problem. So again, if the signal gets reflects here, then it is stopped by this source. Okay, feeder. Okay, so that means what? Some part of the signal is stopped by the feeder, and again, your feeder job is only to give the signal, but now here it has to accept the signal. So what will happen? The stability of the feeder will be affected. The stability of the feeder will be affected because its job is to give the electromagnetic signal to the disk. But in this process, as it is exactly getting reflected here, and again it has to accept the electromagnetic energy, then again the stability of the feeder is lost. Okay, that's one major problem here in the front feed. Okay, so whenever you have a front feed, then this is the problem. Okay, stability of the feeder is affected. Okay, due to the reflection. Okay, so stability of feeder affected due to reflection, and one more thing I want to point out here, this is not related with that is front or okay, I will discuss about this later. Now I will do the classification alone first. Next feed is Cassegrain feed. Okay, next feed is Cassegrain feed. Okay, so Cassegrain feed. Okay, here what is happening? So here, instead of one reflector, they are using two reflector. Okay, this is main reflector and one sub reflector. Now to overcome the stability problem, okay, they are placing their source here, feeder here. This feeder is giving the signal to this, okay, to this. Then it goes here, it goes here, it goes like this. Now this stability problem is somehow we overcome, but what happened? Okay, here we are using two reflector, main, primary and sub reflector. Okay, this is primary reflector. This is sub reflector. Okay, now what is happening here? Stability somehow you have overcome. Your source is not affected by anything because you are giving the signal in such a way it is not getting exactly reflected. It's going away from this, then it's going here. But what is happening? This portion is not sending any signal. This sub reflector is stopping some amount of some amount of electromagnetic waves. Okay, so and again you are losing your electromagnetic energy. Okay, see what is happening in this portion, you are not getting any signal. Okay, see the EM waves is stopped at the direction of sub reflector. Okay, no EM waves stopped by sub reflector. Okay, then to overcome this issue, we have offset feed. Okay, we have a offset feed. Okay, in case of offset feed, if your dish is here and your feeder will be here. Okay, this is your feeder. Then the signal goes like this, like this. Okay, then it goes like this. Here, what is the problem? There is no stoppage, but only some portion of the parabolic reflector is illuminated by the EM waves. Okay, see, and again, here, what is the advantage here? First we see the advantage. Advantage here is no aperture blockage, and again no impedance mismatch. no aperture blockage, no impedance mismatch. Okay, this is most important. Mostly they'll ask in the exam, what is the advantage of offset pair? That is no aperture blockage. Okay, no impedance mismatch. Then what is the limitation of this method? Here also only some portion of the primary reflector is eliminated. Only some portion of reflector is eliminated by EM waves. Reflector is eliminated by EM waves. Okay, EM waves. So next they'll ask one more question. The main concept of the parabolic reflector is, say for example, if you have a parabolic reflector like this, okay, like this, you are having a source here. When you are having a source, you know, when you have a source like a point source, that will create a wave in a spherical shape. Okay, spherical waves. The waves created by this point source is called spherical waves. Okay, you know that whenever you have a point source, that will produce a spherical waves. Okay, then in the process of reflection, what is happening in the process of reflection? What is happening after the reflection from this parabolic reflector? Your wave goes like this. Okay, your wave goes like this. So what is happening? This wave is called spherical waves. This wave is called spherical waves. This wave is called plane waves. Okay, one day I will do the simulation or who will be the plane waves. This is the example for plane waves. Okay, see, this is the example for plane waves. Okay, this is the example for spherical waves. Okay, so again, your parabolic reflector is converting the spherical waves into the plane waves. Another important concept in the exam they will ask. Okay, what the parabolic reflector is doing, it converts the spherical waves, okay, spherical waves into the plane waves. Okay, so very important. Parabolic reflector, okay, parabolic reflector converts spherical wavefront, spherical wavefront into plane wavefront, plane waves. Then what is the advantage of this one? Okay, it is converting spherical waves into plane waves. Whenever you have a spherical nature, your power diminishes very quickly. When your wave is having the spherical nature, that means what, it goes in all directions spherically. When it spreads spherically, that power of the wave diminishes very quickly. But if it is in a plane format, the power will not diminish quickly. That is the main idea. That's why this plane wave goes to longer distance. Okay, see, if it is in a spherical format, the power of the wave will diminish very quickly. But as it is converted into the plane waves, the plane wave can go to the longer distance without much loss. That's another idea. That's why the directivity of the parabolic reflector is very high. See, please make one note. Whenever wave is of in a spherical nature, the decreases power of the wave decreases very quickly. When wave is having spherical nature, spherical nature means spherically it spreads the power. Spherical nature, spherically in all directions, spherical nature, the power of the wave decreases very quickly. The power of wave decreases very quickly. Because that's okay, because whenever wave is going in all direction, definitely the power will reduce. Because if it goes in only one direction, the power will not reduce. Simply you think it of, say for example, when you are calling some person, when they are near, okay, you'll simply call them. But when they are far away, what you are doing traditionally, you'll keep your hand near to your mouth, then you focus your energy in a particular direction. Okay, that means what, somehow you are converting the spherical waves into plane waves. Okay, you are aiming to concentrate the sound energy in a particular direction. It's something similar to that. Okay, if the energy goes in all directions, then the power will reduce very quickly. If it goes only in one direction, the power will not reduce, okay, that much quickly. Okay, it will reduce very slowly. The power will reduce very slowly. That's why it goes to longer distance. Okay, Okay. So next, next one is Hahn antenna. Hahn antenna. Hahn antenna. Then what is Hahn antenna? The extension of the waveguide is called as Hahn antenna. Simply, they used to ask question like this: how to design Hahn antenna? Simply, if you extend the waveguide, that is Hahn antenna. Also, extension of the waveguide. Okay, extension of waveguide. The extension of waveguide is Hahn antenna. You know already what is waveguide. You are having rectangular waveguide and circular waveguide. So once if you have a rectangular waveguide, from rectangular waveguide you can make three possible Hahn antennas. Okay, because you are having rectangular waveguide. Rectangular waveguide. With the rectangular waveguide, okay, you can make three Hahn antenna. One is He Hahn antenna, E type, and another one is H Hahn antenna, and another one is EH. Okay, EH Hahn antenna. That means what you are having two dimension for a for a waveguide. You are having two dimension. Okay, A and B. Then you make a flaring in such a way. Okay, your E remains constant. Okay, then say if you are flaring in such a way, again I cannot draw it here. That's a little bit difficult, I think. But please imagine if I flare in such a way, that means what I take this up and I take this down. Okay, but I am not changing the sides. Now I take this side up and this side down. Then that makes some kind of flaring. Okay, once then that is called as he on. Then if I do in the other way, if I have a waveguide like this, then I try to pull in this direction and also in this direction. Now the flaring is done on left as well as in the right, then that forms H on. Here the flaring is done upward and downward. Here the flaring is done in the sides. Then finally the flaring will be done in both the direction, both the sides, both left and right, and upward and downward. Please refer the books, then you'll get a very clear 3D diagram. Okay, if possible, share it in the group. Okay, so this is E on, H on, and He H on. Okay, then it is simply the extension of the waveguide, simply extension of the waveguide. Okay, so then why flaring is done? Because simply if it is a waveguide, it cannot radiate. Okay, then once if you flare, okay, at the open end, because if you are having waveguide like this, then you are flaring. Okay, I am just drawing 2D, not 3D. This is like 2D. Then you imagine how it will be in 3D. Okay, now here I am doing the flaring. Okay, then what is the need of doing flaring? So if I simply keep it here like this is the waveguide. I am feeding the power here. Okay, this is power input. Here also I can give power input. Okay, but this has the ability to radiate the power in the space, but this will not radiate. Okay, then why? Because once if you flare, okay, you are changing the impedance at the terminal. Okay, by means of flaring, you are changing the impedance at the terminal in such a way the impedance at this terminal is equal to impedance at the free space. Impedance at the free space. You know, impedance at the free space is 377. So by means of flaring, terminal impedance of by means of flaring, terminal impedance of Hahn antenna, terminal impedance of Hahn antenna is made in such a way it matches with free space impedance. Okay, what I'm telling, when you do a flaring in such a way, you flare in such a way, the impedance provided by this terminal is equal to impedance provided by the free space, 377 ohm. Once impedance of the terminal of the Hahn antenna and free space both are same, then whatever the energy that is coming from this Hahn antenna can go into the free space. Okay, can go into the free space. That's the idea. Okay, this is free space and this is measured here at the terminal. Okay, that's why the flaring is done. Okay, So flaring is done to modify to make the impedance matching. Okay, flaring is done to make the impedance matching. Okay, actually the flaring is done to make impedance matching. If there is no impedance matching, then definitely the power from antenna will not go to the free space. Okay, so flaring is done to make impedance match, to make impedance match. Okay, so then what is an antenna directivity? Because an antenna is also ability to direct the signal in this particular direction. Suppose if I place the antenna like this, definitely my power will go like this. So an antenna is also having some directivity. So the directivity of an antenna is simply remember the formula. Okay, mostly they ask only this formula. Directivity of an antenna is 7.5 effective aperture area divided by lambda square. What is this AE? AE means what? Here you will have some cross section. Once you in 3D, if you imagine once in 3D, you will have some cross section. That cross sectional area is called the two, not physical area, effective aperture area. So directly in the exam, they will give you AE, or otherwise they will give you the efficiency and also physical area. Then you can calculate what is AE. So simply always remember this formula. Directivity of an antenna is 7.5 into AE divided by lambda square. 7.5 into AE divided by lambda square. Okay. Okay. So next, I'll make some comparison about three antennas like Hertzian dipole, half-wave dipole, and quarter-wave monopole antenna. Okay. So then later we'll go to antenna arrays. Okay, antenna arrays. Okay, first name of the antenna, name, what is the length, okay, current distribution, R radiator, okay, R radiator, radiation resistance, and again what is directivity, DG value, and what is maximum directivity, maximum directive gain, that is directivity D naught. Okay, then if it is a Hertzian dipole, Hertzian antenna, length is very less than lambda, current distribution is uniform, R radiated is 80 pi square dl by lambda whole square, directive gain is 1.5 sine square theta. Then what is the maximum directive gain? That is simply 1.5 because sine theta maximum value is 1. Then half wave dipole. So what is important, sir? This is meaning already pathirpinga. This is something new. These two parameters. Simply remember this value. No need to remember this also. You simply remember this value. So in the exam, they will ask what is the directivity of infinitesimal small antenna or Hertzian dipole antenna. That is simply 1.5. Okay. Then next, half wave dipole. Half wave dipole length is L is equal to lambda by 2. Current distribution is sinusoidal. Okay, then radiation resistance is 73 ohm. Okay, this is of some complicated function, cos square pi by 2 cos theta divided by sine square theta. But anyway, what is the maximum value? 1.64. Similarly, monopole antenna length is equal to lambda by 4, sinusoidal 70 half of 36.5 ohm, and here 3.26 cos square pi by 2 cos theta divided by sine square theta. Please don't worry about this lengthy function, only remember the final value. So why I am writing this table? Finally, you want to remember this. What is the directivity of Hertzian dipole? That is 1.5. What is the directivity of half wave dipole? 1.64. Monopole is 3.28. One thing is very clear, the directivity of Hertzian dipole is less, 1.5. For half wave dipole, that is 1.64. For monopole, that is double. Yesterday itself, we have seen the monopole antenna radiates only in a upper plane. That's why the directivity of monopole antenna is 2 times of the directivity of the half wave dipole antenna. Now working, sir? Anybody? எஸ் சார், நேற்று டைரக்டிவிட்டி ஆஃப் ஆஃப் வேவ் டைபோலையும் மோனோபோலையும் கம்பேர் பண்ணோம், ஞாபகம் இருக்குங்களா?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so directivity means for small antenna, infinitesimal small antenna, what is the directivity? That is 1.5 lambda by 2 dipole, 1.64, then lambda by 4 dipole, that is simply 3.28. Then somebody please tell me which antenna will have more beam width. இங்க கொடுத்திருக்கிறதுல எந்த ஆண்டனா, which antenna will have more beam width? Anybody?
Lambda by 4 and
Lambda by 4, sir.
Lambda by 4 you are telling, that means you have not understood the concept. This is directivity.
HCN dipoles.
directivity higher இருந்ததுன்னா beam width
லோவா இருக்கும். சோ ஏன் அப்புறம் மாத்தி சொல்றீங்க? Okay, so which antenna will have more beam width? So the beam width of it is very very high, the beam width is very very low. Here the beam width is moderate. Okay, so இந்த ஐடியாவும் கொஞ்சம் உங்களுக்கு ஞாபகம் இருக்கணும். And again, this is okay, beam width of these two, because this is radiating, lambda by 4 is radiating in only one direction, definitely, so the beam width has to be low, that's okay. But why the beam width of infinitesimal small antenna is high as compared to lambda by 2 dipole antenna? For that, you can simply imagine the infinitesimal dipole antenna is something almost similar to isotropic radiator, because once if you make length very very small, okay, that is simply like a point. Okay, see what I am telling, you are in a infinitesimal small antenna. Once if you make length very very small, that is like a point. If it is a point antenna means what? Isotropic antenna, because point antenna means isotropic antenna that will radiate in all direction. Okay, that's why the limiting condition of infinitesimal small antenna when length is very very small is equal to the isotropic antenna. Definitely the isotropic antenna will be having high beam width, and also you know that isotropic antenna directivity is very very less, and again definitely for isotropic antenna directivity is 1. Again here it is having the directivity of 1.5. that means as compared to these two antenna, this is something similar to isotropic antenna. Okay, but this is a practical antenna, but once if you apply the limiting condition, the infinitesimal small antenna can go to that isotropic antenna. That's why it's having less directivity and high beam width. So you can think it of with the isotropic radiator with the limiting condition. Okay, compare. So you always compare this with iso. Okay, because this is a practical antenna, but isotropic antenna is a ideal antenna, but you can compare these two performance. Okay, then this is all practical antenna, lambda by 2 dipole and lambda by 4 antenna. Okay, so and again what you will do for all this antenna, you take u comma theta comma pi value. Okay, radiation intensity value for all, everything is there in the book. Okay, antenna book by KD Prasad. There they will give you them antenna radiation intensity u theta comma pi for all antenna. For infinitesimal dipole, what is u theta comma pi? For lambda by 2 dipole and lambda by 4 and all. Then from this radiation intensity, okay, radiation intensity, once if you have the radiation intensity, okay, and also sometimes they will give you, again this is function of theta, they may give you something like this, sin theta or cos theta, something like that. Then once if the radiation intensity is given in this manner, then you try to calculate the beam width. What is the beam width? Now you take this as an example. If your radiation pattern is function of sin theta, say simply sin theta, again you know the sin theta nature, theta can be 0 or theta can be pi by 2 maximum in our discussion, or like this, then what happens? What will be the half power beamwidth when it is sin theta? What will be the half power beamwidth? Okay, when u theta comma pi is function of sin theta, then what is half power beamwidth? Just try to calculate. Okay, yara solla mudiyuma? Sin theta, what is the half power beamwidth? How much degree it will come? Anybody? Half power beamwidth solla mudiyuma? Not 120 degree.
60 degree, sir.
60 degree or 90 degree? When theta is 0, this is 0. Okay, when theta is 90 degree, this is maximum. When theta is 45 degree, when theta is 45 degree, what will happen, sir? Sin 45 degree, 1 by root 2. And again, in this direction also, for 45 degree, you will get 1 by root 2. This is 45 degree, this is 45 degree. This is 45 degree, this is 45 degree. Then what is the half power beamwidth for sin theta? Simply 90 degree. Simply 90 degree. So, இது போல function கொடுத்திருப்பாங்க சார். அதுக்கு ஏத்த போல half power beamwidth கண்டுபிடிக்கலாம். Okay, so please
cos theta போடுங்க சார்.
cos theta போடுவா. cos theta போட்டாலும் இதான வருது. I think 60 degree வரும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். என்ன வருது cos theta க்கு?
half power beamwidth வந்து 120 degree sir cos theta க்கு.
cos theta க்கு சரி போட்டு பாப்போம். Okay, when cos theta is 0, this is maximum. Okay, then at what point you will get 1 by root 2? Okay, please somebody tell me. This is cos theta, this is 0 degree. At what point you will get 1 by root 2? Cos theta is equal to 1 by root 2 எப்போ வரும்?
45.
45 வருதா? I think.
Sir, half power na magnitude வந்து 1/2 தான் sir.
1/2 okay, but again அவன் கொடுத்திருக்கிறத பொறுத்து இருக்கு. அவன் வந்து எலக்ட்ரிக் ஃபீல்டு கொடுத்திருக்கானா இல்லனா பவர் பேட்டர்ன் கொடுத்திருக்கானா அதெல்லாம் பொறுத்து இருக்கு. So maybe அந்த கான்செப்ட் படி வந்ததுன்னா 1/2. சரி 1/2 எங்க வருது? மேபி அந்த ஆங்கிள் கூட கொடுத்திருக்கலாம். அது ப்ராப்ளம் கரெக்டா பார்த்தா தான் தெரியும். அவன் ஃபங்க்ஷன் என்ன ஃபங்க்ஷன் கொடுத்திருக்கான், எலக்ட்ரிக் ஃபீல்டு வச்சு கொடுத்திருக்காங்களா இல்லனா என்னது பவர் பேட்டர்ன் வச்சு கொடுத்திருக்காங்களா அப்படின்றது. So but whenever u comma theta comma pi is given, that is always related with the power generally. சரி 1/2 எங்க சார் வருது? cos theta 1/2 60 டிகிரில வருமா?
60 degree.
கரெக்ட்டா? அப்ப கரெக்ட் தான். இது 60 டிகிரினா அப்ப half power beam width வந்து அது 120 டிகிரி வரும். அப்போ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நீங்க கேர்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கணும். இந்த இதுவே வந்து எதுக்கு தரோம்? எலக்ட்ரிக் ஃபீல்டுக்கா இல்லனா பவருக்கு தராங்களா? அது கேர்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கணும் little bit. But whenever u comma theta comma pi is given, that is for generally power. Okay, you have to be a little bit careful there. Okay, so அத கொஞ்சம் கேர்ஃபுல்லா பாத்துங்க சார். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒன்னா இது சப்போஸ் பவர் பட்
first null beamwidth
between the first null. Okay, அதெல்லாம் வந்து நான் அரேஸ் வரும்போது சொல்றேன். பிகாஸ் இங்க ஒரே ஒரு பேட்டர்ன் தான் இருக்குது. இதுக்கு போய் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் null செகண்ட் null சொல்ல முடியாது. when you have more than one patterns like this, then you can tell what is nulls. Okay, அதெல்லாம் அங்க வரும்போது சொல்றேன். antenna arraysல. Okay, so our next topic is antenna arrays. Okay, next topic is yes sir.
The product ல இருந்து எப்படி சார் கண்டுபிடிக்கிறது?
Product
sin theta and cos 2 theta.
அது போல உங்களுக்கு கொடுக்கிறதுக்கு ரொம்ப சான்ஸ் கம்மி. ஓகே, ரொம்ப காம்ப்ளிகேட்டட் ஃபங்க்ஷன்லாம் வராது. கொடுத்தாலும் கண்டுபிடிக்கலாம். அது போல வரும்போது ப்ராக்டிகலா வர்றது அனுப்புங்க, நான் எப்படின்னு போட்டு சொல்றேன். மேத்தமெட்டிக்ஸ் பீம் வித் பிட்வீன் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நல் கண்டுபிடிக்கிறது வெரி சிம்பிள். எந்த இடத்துல ஆங்கிள் அகைன் இப்போ சப்போஸ் sin theta இது போல கொடுத்துருக்காங்கன்னே வச்சுங்களேன். இது போல போகுது. அகைன் நல்ஸ் எங்க வரும்னு பார்க்கணும். இங்க தான் நல்ஸ் வரும், இங்க தான் நல்ஸ் வரும். அப்போ என்ன ஆகும்? ஒன்ஸ் நல்ஸ் இங்க வரும்போது இதுதான் பீம் வித் பிட்வீன் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நல்ஸ் மாதிரி வரும். 180 டிகிரி வரும். ஸோ 90 டிகிரி இன்டு 2 டைம்ஸ் போட்டீங்கன்னா 180 டிகிரி. அதான் பீம் வித் பிட்வீன் த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நல்ஸ். வெரி சிம்பிள். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நல்ஸ்னா 0 வர மாதிரி டிகிரி கண்டுபிடிக்கணும். அட் வாட் ஆங்கிள் த வேல்யூ இஸ் 0. யூ ஆர் கிவன் வித் ஃபங்க்ஷன். அட் வாட் ஆங்கிள் the value is 0. Okay, so sine 0 0, sine 180 degree is also 0. Then that difference is beamwidth between the first null. That difference is beamwidth between the first null. Our idea. Okay va? But நம்ம எல்லாமே ரேண்டமா எடுத்து டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணிரோம். But you have to take some realistic function, whether that is electric field pattern or power pattern, அதெல்லாம் எடுத்து கரெக்டா அனலைஸ் பண்ணாத கரெக்ட் வேல்யூ கிடைக்கும். ஓகே, ஸோ அடுத்தது, please wait a bit. What is the time? Okay, shall we